So I see people from Georgia, Iowa, Minnesota, San Diego. I see a lot of people from Alabama, Illinois, New Jersey, New York, Connecticut, Florida, Arizona, Sydney, Australia. Sydney, Australia. What are you? Mexico City. Oh my gosh, you guys are coming in from all over. This is fantastic. So thank you so much for coming. We have about 200 of you have already joined us. So I'm really going to launch right into this. So anyone who's new, don't freak out that we've turned off your video and we've muted you, because we just basically don't want to talk to you. We want to talk to each other. But no, it'll keep our bandwidth controlled so that we can keep going through the webinar. I have amazing people with me here for today, and we're going to be talking about programming options for reopening. And we'll be talking about equipment. We'll be talking about different programs for large group training, small group training, how you can integrate that online variations with what you're offering in live, how we can reopen our facilities. We're in an incredible pandemic right now, and we've got to make changes like we've never made as quickly as we possibly can. So Jeff Dilts is here. He's the VP of Product Development for Core Health and Fitness, and he leads one of the fitness industry's most iconic brand portfolios. It's Schwinn and Nautilus, and you're just going to have to list the rest of them, Jeff. And then we have Jamie is a registered nurse and an MSN. Now, Jamie, is it Zacharias?
Yes.
Oh my God, I did it right. I'm so proud of myself.
Right.
She's a registered nurse and MSN, nurse practitioner. She's a Cooper physical fitness specialist. She also is a TCU collegiate athlete, marathon runner. You're crazy, marathon runner. You're insane.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. I know. Well, try to get to my age and then not live 1 year without knee surgery. Every year it's like a new knee surgery for me. Carol Teteak is here. She has her master's in exercise science and sports performance. She's the education manager for Hedstrom Fitness, and she specializes in sports-related conditioning and balance training. And Pete McCall, one of my favorite people, is the author of Smarter Workouts, The Science of Exercise Made Simple. He's an amazing presenter. He's been presenting at Manias for years and years. He's a global master trainer for Core Health and Fitness, and he hosts a wonderful podcast. It's all about fitness. So that's what we're going to talk about, all about fitness. How in the world are we going to reopen our facilities? What type of programs are we going to offer? And what's going on? And Jeff, I'm going to start with you because I thought it was really interesting how Schwinn was going to do a cycle certification, and some of the people who want to take this certification, hello, they don't have a bike, but they still come. So how did you guys decide you were going to do this and get this off the ground?
Well, as you know, Sarah, thank you. We have a lot of live courses every month all over the world. And our number one most requested live course is our full Schwinn, full day certification. Well, of course, when the pandemic started, all of those live certifications had to shut off. And we had 2 or 3 or 4 months of registrations booked in advance. So right away, those customers were asking us, what can we do? We have our programs online, and we have a tremendous response from our online programming. So a lot of them switched from what would have been an 8-hour live day to an online certification that they would do at their own pace over the course of as many days as they wanted. But as we talked to more and more of them on the phone, some of them just said, I have to have that interaction. I love doing it in a single day. I love interacting with the instructor. I love that feeling of a live workshop. So we realized we had to pivot as fast as we possibly could. And we said, let's find a facility. Let's get the camera we can get. Let's make sure that we're safe. And then let's do what is actually a 10-hour day. Let's do it live from a studio in the Pacific Northwest. And we had a massive response. Folks that were unhappy that they couldn't do live, didn't want to go full online, they really found that this hybrid program was a great option for them. And so we did the first one. We've now done 2 additional ones, and we have several more set up over the next few weeks.
How many people did you have in the live stream when you did it?
It's been, for most of it, because, you mentioned earlier, not everyone has a bike. So we're seeing anywhere from, 35 to 45 people in each of the sessions. But to your point, we've had people call and say, I don't have a bike, but I still see tremendous value in sitting through the course. So a lot of people have had bikes, and the course, you'll see them on their bikes, but a lot of people have watched and participated just, sitting at home.
Yeah. And we get, like at the Mania conventions, sometimes we'll get 70 people in the certifications, but at our moderate level shows, we'll get 35 people. So you're getting as many people online as you get in your live training. And then they don't have the travel. You don't have the hotel. I'm not, I don't have to put my dog in a kennel because, who cares about the kids? I care about my dog. But that's huge for people. And one thing, SCW did the same thing. We had to flip and had to do our live stream certifications. And we've been doing our live stream certifications, and we started doing it 9 months ago in October of last year. Interestingly enough, a lot of the presenters that started this were terrified because what they thought was going to happen was that there was going to be fewer people attending the certifications. And what happened was our live numbers jumped up a little bit, and the streaming numbers, the live stream numbers, grew. So I encourage you as club owners and instructors, don't be afraid of when the club reopens, making sure that those people that can't get out of the house, that can't get the babysitter, because they're not going to let childcare open right away. The world is forever changed. So I think the fact that you guys were able to take those certifications and knock them out is phenomenal. And you're going to keep doing that, right?
Oh, absolutely. I think the new, we'll talk about the new normal a lot today, but I think the new normal for not only the instructor community, but for the client community is going to be a hybrid model. It's going to be live when you can do live and get the most interaction you possibly can, streaming when streaming makes more sense, and online for people that want to learn at a slower pace.
So if people want to get Schwinn certified, what's the website they go to?
It's corehealthandfitness.com, and you just go to our education tab, and you'll see the full suite of education from whether it's strength certification, HIIT certification, group cycling certification, and the schedule of events is on that same page.
And you write out the word and. It's not ampersand.
It is ampersand.
It is ampersand. Okay, I'm going to have my staff try to type it in. corehealthandfitness.com. So you guys check it out if you're looking to get your team certified, because this is the perfect time actually to get people to come in and get trained. They're at home. They got nothing to do. Everybody's offering discounts on their training. You guys get your staff trained now, or get a new certification, be able to offer something new. Now, Carol, you guys, I noticed you're offering a lot of training that's going on. And we were chatting before we turned the camera on about the new programming that BOSU's offering.
Yeah, we absolutely had to turn on a dime as well, just like all of us in the industry. And I saw a chat pop up about is it as effective? How do you hold those people accountable? And I think it absolutely is effective, and because there is that connection. We started out doing YouTube and shifted to Zoom so that we could have more interaction with people. And so just briefly about that, I think it's really about inspiring those people, getting those instructors and trainers to really inspire those members and clients that are taking the live stream courses. And we have fantastic master trainers that can do that. But what we shifted to is wanting to incorporate a lot of the programming that people normally would have seen at, say, Ideal World or something like that, that typically if you don't go to those shows, you don't get to see it. Now people can experience it online, such as the BARRE, B-A-R-R-E, the BARRE programming, Pilates programming, redefining programs that we used to have that we've updated to make more current with regard to the industry and what's happening in the world. So it's exciting.
And people can go and purchase the BOSUs directly from your site, right? I think I know you've got a discount going on because I bought one.
Thank you.
Yeah, but and that's great because they can buy it. Is there a way, and then they can resell it to their members or their personal training clients? And that's something to consider.
Absolutely. Actually, you kind of, Jeff was kind of leading towards that earlier in his conversation, where being able to offer that equipment to your members as well. Now we're, Hedstrom Fitness, we are the manufacturers and distributors of the BOSU and Surge brand of products. So it's smaller products, it's the minor equipment, right? And so that is a little bit easier to stock or store if you do have even a small studio. So that's exciting. And now is probably some of the best time to connect with either the manufacturer directly or the distributor, whoever you normally like to go through, because most everyone is offering specials right now, even though we're, struggling to keep up with the demand, because everyone is still at a skeleton crew. Those manufacturers and distributors, we're still at a skeleton crew, but we're doing our best to keep up with that demand. And now is definitely the time to rethink any kind of new programming and new products.
And I think that's very, very important. I'm going to ask Pete about some of the programming suggestions he has. And then, Jeff, I'm going to jump back to you. Don't let me forget this. We're going to talk about leasing equipment, because somebody in the chat box asked, I'm going to ask Jeff right now about this. Leasing equipment. Now, you mentioned something really unique about a boutique studio that was, can you share with us about that?
Yeah, I mean, when you're an end user and you're absolutely passionate about your boutique or your type of training, it's hard to stop cold turkey. And so when all this started, for us and for our Schwinn brand, one of the things that happened is you had, thousands of studios within clubs and boutiques that suddenly folks were at home and they, they had options. They had Peloton and things like that. But what they loved was their instructors, their community, their brand of their studio. And so what we saw almost immediately at the beginning of this was studios that were first started with, we're going to loan our bikes out. It quickly pivoted and people said, look, this is not going to go away after this ends. So we saw some pretty entrepreneurial people start to pivot and say, you know what, I'm going to lease my bikes. That way, during the pandemic, I can still collect my monthly fee so I can keep my business viable and my employees working. I'm going to start to do virtual classes, and my clients, first come, first serve, that come in and want to lease my 45 bikes, I'm going to continue to offer them classes multiple times a day, 7 days a week. And what happened in some of these cases is there was more demand than the studio had bikes. So right away we got phone calls and said, hey, we've leased all 45 of our bikes. We're continuing to collect our dues from our clients in a virtual studio world, but we actually need more bikes now. And so we've been trying to work as fast as we can and get bikes as quickly as we can. But it really, again, paints the picture of what the future could look like. And when you look at how some of these entrepreneurial studios are setting themselves up for the future, they're going to do an add-on membership. There'll be a boutique-only membership where you come in and you take classes like you always have and you always have loved. Then there'll be an add-on to take classes virtually. And within that add-on membership, you can lease to own your own bike. So great for us in the equipment industry, but I was really just amazed with how creative the studio owners and the club owners were that were kind of finding a way to keep their programs live. Now, part of it was business. They wanted to continue to collect their monthly dues. But now they're seeing it grow into a bigger business opportunity on the back end of the pandemic.
And that's great because you have to look at how are we going to sustain? How are we going to make it through? And if the clubs can lease the bikes, the boutique studios or large big box gyms or YMCA's not-for-profits, how can they lease the bikes? It's doing a service to people, or combine it into a higher level membership where they get the bike at home. And then this gives money towards the club that they can go and lease new bikes. They don't have to put all the money out front. They can lease them. And again, this is a great time to buy things. You've seen it, guys. Everything's on sale.
Well, if I can
Jamie,
jump in, because I think the other opportunity for that is not only the big capital expenses like bikes, but I think for smaller operators and for facilities, if you can sell equipment packages like bands, balls, hand weights, and then if you already have rental lockers, I know when I was a club manager, maybe we had 30-40% of our rental lockers rented at any one time. But now you sell the equipment package for a group fitness studio, and then you have the rental lockers. So basically, you're giving people their own equipment to use at a facility. That way, they're not coming into a facility and grabbing a pair of weights that's been used 2 or 3 times that day. They're going in and grabbing their own lockers. So I think, to Jeff's point, it's not only the capital equipment, the big stuff, the heavy stuff, but even the smaller stuff, the bands, the mats, all that can now is an opportunity for operators to do ancillary sales and ancillary equipment sales. And then that extra step, you now have those rental lockers that more often than not aren't fully utilized at a facility. You now have a reason to sell them that people can store their group, for all your group fitness junkies, they can store their group fitness kit there.
And the nice thing is that they have that kit that, let's say it includes a band and a ball and a bar and a yoga mat. And maybe the studio provides them with a bag that's logoed, and then they can work out at home doing the online programming that the facilities offering, or also go to the club. Now, Jamie, you've also got some, you really pivoted very quickly. You had already started doing an online certification, or you were about to, MASHUP was about to, but what you did was you were forced kicking and screaming into doing it now. So how did you guys get it done so quickly?
Well, one of my wonderful master trainers kind of lit a fire under my said, you got to do this. And I've always wanted to do it. I just haven't gotten to a point of being comfortable yet. But actually what made me be forced to homeschool my children and use Zoom made me more comfortable thinking like, hey, we could really pull off a MASHUP certification using Zoom and maintain the same amount of quality that we want, the same amount of movement that we want, where we've been able to adapt it to where we can still do our demo class, we can still do our team teaching or practicum that we always do, because that's a really important part of it. So yeah, it's been fun. We've done a few already, and they've been great. And we're doing a pretty big one this weekend, and we're looking forward to doing one May 28th with SCW. I know we have a lot of people signed up for that. And so I think I'm excited for this whole virtual thing. And I always try to look at the good that could come out of all this. When talking to gym members, gym owners, and coordinators, I really think a new hybrid model will come out of this, where gyms can maintain their membership and keep their members happy by continuing to offer virtual stuff that they can do at home along with the live stuff. And it may not, it may be a gradual introduction as gyms start to reopen. How that might work for every gym is different, but I think a hybrid model is going to be the way.
It's going to be the way to go.
Future.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll ever.
Jamie,
Yeah.
we're getting a little in and out with you. I think you're a little bit far away from your Wi-Fi. You may even need to move your computer just because you're going off and on. I did want to go back to Pete, and I wanted to talk about small group training and large group training, and how we were going to adapt from that large group training into after the pandemic. So many states are saying you can only have 10 people in a room. And I've even read some state recommendations where you got to be 12 feet apart from someone. I can't believe my dog is doing this. I tell everybody to put their pets away, and my dog is the one that's barking. I have no idea what he's doing.
Well,
Sorry about that.
But I think to kind of back up what Jamie said, and I know what other people have said, is that you're going to create this hybrid model where if we can only limit 15 people in a studio for a 5 o'clock class, you're going to have a live camera in there. So that way, if I want it, because that's what I think people are finding is people are kind of like staying at home and doing the video workout. I don't have to sit in traffic. I don't have to fight with it. Yeah, we miss some of that camaraderie of seeing our friends in the gym, but I really do think that people are getting more comfortable with this format. So I do think that what we're going to see, especially with large groups, is we are going to see facilities say, all right, we're going to have cameras in here. If you're coming in to take a class, you have to be well aware that you might be on camera while you're in the class, because we can only limit, we have this huge group fitness studio, but we can only let 15 people in here at a time. And so now we can sign up, so you can have 15 people in the studio, you can have 70 people at home. And I really think, good operators are going to have to see that opportunity, invest in the cameras, invest in the Wi-Fi technology, and just extend their offering. I mean, I said this, I think, before we hit go, but every crisis presents an opportunity. And this just means that people have an opportunity to change their business model.
And I think that that's very important, Pete. You bring up a very interesting point. If we are going to be doing this live streaming from our clubs, we've got music issues to think of, we've got microphone issues to think of, we've got waivers of liability to think of. And that's very important for us. I'm going to include tomorrow, we always record the webinar and then it's downloadable the next day. I'm going to make sure that I ask Beth and Mike, please let in Jamie. You've got to let her in so that she can come back on screen with us. Thank you, guys. There you go. Hi, Jamie. How are you? You look beautiful. So but we will include an informed consent form that will also address, you've got to say, I agree that I won't sue my health club if I get injured in any way, shape, or form, or if I die. And I acknowledge that the club can use my image, both video and audio, and as well as any photographs in any way that they want to. And that's important to acknowledge. And we need to put that in our terms and conditions of participation and in our waivers. And I think it's very important that when we reopen our facilities, everybody gets people to re-sign their informed consent form. And you just, it sounds a little tacky, but you kind of slip it in. And most facilities already have that because we want to be able to post everything on Instagram and Facebook, etc. So I'll include that waiver. And when we come back from the pandemic, just assure that people are healthy enough to participate. So with this equipment and with this replacement, how are you structuring the layout of the facilities when you reopen? Like Jeff, how are you guys, how is like Core Health and Fitness, are they moving their equipment? Are they, are there special ways they're hygienically sanitizing it? What are they doing?
We're really fortunate. We have distribution in about 89 countries around the world, and sales reps everywhere. And as I mentioned earlier, our sales team is really obviously in consult and coach mode, and how can we help during this time. And one of the things we do is we huddle every week with our sales leaders and we say, what is happening? What are you seeing in Georgia and other parts of the world where clubs are opening back up? And, more than ever, I mean, our industry, health and fitness, is an interesting industry because it lives on a paradigm of, vanity at one end and sanity at the other. And sometimes we do things that aren't the smartest because we think they get better results. But we're seeing everything you can imagine, everything you just described. We've heard stories of 75 people gathered outside a front door without masks, huddled together in anticipation of the club opening at 5:30 a.m. They can't wait to get back in and do programming and lift weights and do all those things. In other areas, operators are forcing a more conservative approach. The fastest, easiest thing for a club to do that's existing is simple things like an out of order sign on every other piece of cardio. Cardio tends to be very close together. You've got to create a barrier. It's hard to physically move, 20 or 30 big pieces of capital equipment. So they're simply putting them out of order to create separation. We have other owners that are actually physically trying to distance the products as much as possible. In most cases, some areas of the gym, like the selectorized weight training area, most of those are separated by a weight stack and they're already 5 to 6 feet apart. So not a lot of modification there. But as you can imagine, we've seen videos that are everything from how you enter the lobby and your temperature is checked, you're offered a mask if you don't have one, you're offered gloves if you don't have one. A lot of marketing around how often the facility is being cleaned and how it's being cleaned, whether it's with vaporizers or by hand. And then a lot of marking on the floor. We've seen some of the flooring companies already react with whether they be stickers or actual flooring that has separation points on it for both programming and traffic. A lot happened really, really fast. So I think we are going to see different approaches and different responses in different parts of the world. I think we'll see areas where people are going to come in and they aren't going to be as nervous or scared. And I think we see other areas where people are going to be extremely cautious from a manufacturing standpoint.
It's interesting. We've been in communication with a lot of clubs in China that have reopened. And there's been very similar modeling that's happened in China that's happening in America. And you think the different cultures would breed a different response. But what they're discovering is as soon as they open up, there's about a 10% of the previous, membership amount is showing up. And within that first week, it bumps up to about 25%. And one of the number one things that they recommend, they gave a positive response to this, was getting testimonials from your clients right then and there on your cell phone, maybe even pulling down their mask, standing 6 feet away and saying, I'm back. It's great to be back. This place is immaculate. I love it. So for you instructors and personal trainers and club owners, be ready to take those testimonials and be aware. You're going to also have to monitor those, I'm just going to say it, those idiots that are wearing masks, that are hovering together and chatting and hugging each other. It can happen at your place of business. I am going to answer some music questions that have come up in a while. But Pete, can you also share with us some other onboarding strategies that you have seen going on in the industry?
Well, I think the main thing is it really will come down to the spacing. It will really come down to the class size, controlling the class size. And also, as Jeff and a couple people have said, equipment layout. One of the things I just saw in the chat room that I forget who pointed out is it gives you a chance to alternate the equipment. So you can alternate the usage on the equipment. But really, I'm just thinking back to being in facilities in China and having traveled through different cities in China and been in a number of different facilities over there. You do see people exercising with masks on. I mean, it's become pretty much a commonplace thing over there. So I really think it just comes down to getting used to the new paradigm. The one thing I would agree with you, to go back to what you said earlier, Sarah, about the new waivers, not only will we need a new waiver for videos, and I think that's going to become standard, but we are going to have a new waiver for people doing the assumption of risk. I mean, no operator, no matter how clean they keep the facility, is going to be able to guarantee. I mean, look, we all know even the cleanest facilities are germ pits anyway. And we all know that those members come in saying, I'm going to sweat out my cold, even though they know they should stay home. And we know that happens. So I think it's going to be imperative that facility operators, owners, and managers have a new waiver, new assumption of risk waiver, meaning I'm coming into a facility. I already know that A, exercise is inherently dangerous to begin with, but B, if I'm coming in here, I know I'm putting myself in close contact, and I am choosing to do that. I mean, you're the attorney, Sarah. You can talk a little bit more about the liability issue, but I think
I love my waivers. I love my waivers.
It throws it right back, right? Because that's the concern is people might not want to come back into the facility thinking I'm going to be, worried about being too close to people. Well, we can't guarantee everything. We really can't.
And that's what people said. There was a wonderful comment. I love the way it was phrased. It's right here. Will we be forced to enforce? Okay. Will we, and we need customer service managers that are requesting, we've got to think of the people that are nervous about coming back. The other ones, there's people out there already that are not wearing masks, running around without gloves. They're getting on airplanes. They're going to visit family. And there's people out there that are just like, I'm on lockdown. I have to be on lockdown. I've got a kid with an immunity disorder who's home right now, and I can't afford to get sick because I'll get him sick, and God knows what will happen. So we've got to think about that. And yes, we're not going to be liable. The government would never hold us liable for these types of illnesses, because if they did, we'd never report the illnesses. So it's a public service if you report the illnesses. So they're not going to hold the club liable for anybody getting sick there. But they will enforce the governmental regulations. And I've got like a whole stack of them that I went through for all the different states that are opening, 10 feet apart, or 10 people can only exercise at a time. One state said 6 feet distance. Another state said 12 feet distance. I know that BOSU, Carol, you were talking about a wonderful program using BOSU, which really works hard and strength, Pilates based, fabulous. I would venture to say at some point that might be a little bit safer than sharing a piece of weight equipment, because you're there, it's yours, you've got your wipes, you've got your hand sanitizers, and you stay in one place. What is that program you're offering?
So we actually have, right now we have the Pilates Core Power program that is, actually it's this weekend with Helen Vanderberg. So people can register for it right now, but
where do they go for that? I'm just going to type it in the chat box.
It's the bosu.com /fitness-education. So, and all of our live stream programming is out there. And then we have another one coming down the pipeline, Dynamic Pilates Fusion, which is kind of a little bit of a fusion of the Pilates base, but a little bit more dynamic movement and getting your heart rate going just a little bit more. So, but yeah, I agree. Enabling someone to, whether they're at home or whether they're at the gym, that enabling them to just stay in one place, not having them to worry about, oh, I've got to touch someone, I've got to share something with someone. I think all the ideas that everybody has come up with is fantastic, especially what Pete said about, potentially having a package ready to go that people could even bring with them. I think it's a fantastic idea.
I think it's an absolutely great idea. And Jamie, talk to us about the program, because I also heard that you were bringing your program also outdoors, that this is a good program that can be done outdoors as well as inside the gym.
Right. So the great thing with MASHUP, it's very adaptable. You can teach it outdoors easily. You don't have to have equipment to implement it. You could do body weight workouts. You could do workouts with towels. If you need to do something outside, you can carry lightweight resistance bands to teach it outdoors as well. So it's very adaptable to the outdoor environment. But what I was going to kind of add on to what Carol was saying, when it comes to group fitness inside the gym, you know, I would encourage gym owners or coordinators to think about, you know, maybe we should start off with implementing our programs that can be taught with just body weight initially, and have that be the majority of the programs we offer first, and then slowly add in the ones that do have to have equipment available.
Yeah.
To limit contact.
Yes, and I think that that's very important to do. I also think about personal training. And Pete, I'm going to come back to you on this. Like, I always believe in, you know, invade someone's space, but we can't even, you know, rather than touch them and move them, because the liability increases when you touch somebody. But how do you even invade somebody's space if you're supposed to stay 6 feet away? How are we going to personally train, and do we integrate, you know, the online with the live experience at the club?
Well, I think that's already going to, I mean, it's going to have to happen, right? And it's been my experience just and I've been doing a couple of Zoom sessions with some clients, and it's, you know, the only thing you lose is you lose equipment options, but the coaching can be okay. And technically, when you look at it, I mean, scope of practice, personal trainers shouldn't be physically, I mean, we can kinesthetically guide, but there are some scope of practice limitations about physical touching anyway. I mean, it's just going to be one of those things of every trainer is going to have to know their clients, and you're going to have to follow whatever guidelines for whatever state you're in. I mean, some states will obviously have more stringent guidelines than others. It just is going to be like everything else, going to be adapting to the new normal. And I really think that clubs are going to have to look at how do they offer virtual training? If they don't already offer it as a service, as part of the package, is it something they offer? I mean, I know a friend of mine works, he used to work here in San Diego. He moved back to Maine about 2 years ago, but he still is an employee of the club here in San Diego, and he trains people remotely via FaceTime. And he literally has the clients bring the iPad into the gym with them, and they work via the iPad in the gym, and he's in his office back in Maine doing that training. So you're already starting to see some of the stuff is starting to see anyway, because the club didn't want to lose him as a trainer. The clients didn't want to lose him. So they came up with this model anyway. All it is going to take a little creativity and a little bit of just, you know, knowledge. And then a good trainer, I don't need to be hovering over you to be able to give you a good workout. I just need to be able to observe and make some minor suggestions. And that can be done from 2-3 meters away.
Yeah. And Carol?
Well, to kind of add on to what Pete was saying, I think what's going to have to happen with that, not only that trainer, but that group fitness instructor is going to have to learn how to teach to those different learning styles as well. When I went online with my golfers, I had to get better at my cueing. I had to really think about what I was saying, how I was saying it. And of course, using Zoom, yes, I can see them and I keep my group small so I can focus on each of them. But that's going to be key, is maybe going back and reading up on how all the different learning styles and how to better cue so that you can train them without actually being there with them.
And Carol, you're in Chicago, the Chicago area, like me, and I think, you know, these snowbirds go, but they don't want to lose me as a trainer. They don't want to lose me as an instructor. No. It's a way to keep their membership over this horrible winter while they're enjoying the sunshine. Oh yeah. But I will say one thing. My kids, I got portable equipment in the basement, and my boys are staring at me that they want to get in the gym so bad. So Jeff, how are we going to get them back in the gym, manage the wipes? Are we going to be doing more circuit training with people on our weights and our utilizing our cardio machines? How can we integrate that and develop a program where people can enjoy the weights or check in, or is there going to be a scheduling system? What do you think?
Well, I think it's interesting. There's this idea of having separation, whether, we were talking about it earlier, whether it's having half as many pieces of cardio or half as many strength equipment, or, I'll give a shout out to one of our great customer partners at Crunch. One of the best videos that I saw was shot by a Crunch location. It was very personal. It was, the manager owner with someone holding a phone, but very sincere in the front, and said, let me show you what to expect when you come back to Crunch. And it was literally follow her through the front door, meet the receptionist who had a mask on, who was someone that they obviously knew and recognized. Once you hit the front desk, let's go to cardio. Here's how our cardio area is laid out, and here's what we're doing to protect you. And then little by little, the video went through the entire facility. They stopped at the locker room, they stopped at group exercise, and they talked about the markers on the floor and how they were going to separate the bodies within group exercise. So I think, to answer your question, it's how can you proactively manage the traffic? And it might mean, and Pete will love this, but it might mean that, hey, every 30 minutes, we're going to do a traditional 12 machine selectorized strength Nautilus circuit. You might remember it from the 70s and 80s. It still works today. It's still scientifically viable. Pete has done a lot of work for us on this. But what a great way to manage traffic, and maybe not have it all build up in the free weight area. So I think what I loved about that video is, if I was a member of that club, two things happened. Number one, you made me feel incredibly safe. Number two, you showed me 4 or 5 other things that I was going to be able to do that I probably always could do, but never really thought to do. So I thought what was great about it is, not only was it making people feel safe and secure and welcome back, they were literally managing the traffic within the club by introducing other programming options.
Yeah, and that's a wonderful thing to do. When you guys do your videos of before you're reopening, show little snippets of cleaning the facility, show little snippets of your new programming. Never, ever, ever go longer than a minute. I totally recommend under 30 seconds. And I know that's a whip through, of the facility, but you got to keep it under a minute or it can't go on Instagram. And you always want to put it on Instagram, click that little button, boom, throw it on Facebook as well. So keep it under a minute and keep it short and sweet. And Jamie, you talked about that MASHUP is literally a mashup, okay, of different programming that people can piece together. Tell me about the different pieces of the choreography that you guys so beautifully mesh into a full routine.
Yeah, so essentially it's a mashup of mind-body exercises, agility and strength exercises, and high-intensity interval exercises. So it's relatively 1/3 of each of those modalities, just to ensure that the participant gets to work every aspect of their muscle cell, get a full body workout in a short amount of time. And so we always begin our warm-ups with agility and strength. That's the first modality we always start with. We use it as our warm-up, but we'll always come back to it. We always follow that up with HIIT, and then we follow that up with mind-body, which is our active recovery and cool down for every round after HIIT. And the key thing with our format, though, is that we do offer it for 3 fitness levels. So we have pregnant women that can do it. We have 70-year-olds that can do it. We have 30-year-olds that do it with their teenagers, or that 40-year-olds with their teenagers. That's a little young. But it's very adaptable for all populations.
And that's very important right now, is to offer programs that are diverse, because we're not going to be able to offer as many programs, because you need to start a class, finish your class, let that group totally leave the facility, then you let the next group totally in. It's that crossing in the hallway. So is this a full hour program, or is there also a way for it to be, let's say, a 45-minute program?
Absolutely. So the maximum length class for MASHUP is 45 minutes, because within that time frame, participants are getting 15 to 18 minutes of HIIT, which really all you want of HIIT, if you're doing it properly, is less than 20 minutes. And so 45 minutes is our maximum length. However, classes can be taught in a 30-minute format and even a 15-minute format if people want to tack it on to right before a yoga class or right afterwards. So we have 15, 30, 45-minute class options.
And what I like about the program is that it shows a variety of levels. So the same people can be in the same class. Somebody's doing a jumping jack and somebody's doing like a side leg tap.
Yep.
So it does give you that variety. I also found it interesting, you think MASHUP, I think it's going to be a mess. It's going to be all over the studio. People kind of stay in their own space.
Yeah.
But get this whole variety.
Interesting enough, it's we actually don't allow partner drills in our formats because we want people to truly work at level 1, 2, or 3, and so they never have to touch someone else, and the entire workout can be executed in their space, and you can be 6 feet apart from each other. So it works very well with social distancing for as long as we need to maintain that. You can create dynamic and have people move around the room to do different exercises, but none of it requires touching other people's equipment or touching someone else during the workout.
And that's something we just have to be aware of. I mean, it may not last forever. Let's hope it doesn't last forever. But this is something that when we come back, which Tennessee just opened up today, I read Wyoming, Utah, North Carolina, South Carolina, Indiana, these places have opened up, and their recommendations are all over the board. I will do a summary sheet. And I will supply it for tomorrow when we upload the recorded webinar. Because I think that it's important so at least you guys can pre-plan. We're getting close to we're 2 minutes over, I'm so sorry. But like what Jeff said about closing off some of the equipment, making sure you have your protocols for cleaning, you guys look into leasing equipment, right, Jeff? I'm gonna let you all ask you please to leave us with your tidbits. Carol, I love the variety of stuff. Pete, I love the locker room. Jamie, I love that they can do it in one place. Jeff, I'm going to start with you to do a closing.
Yeah, I think, we don't know what we don't know yet, right? So we don't know how busy we're going to be, but we have to plan for a conservative and slow ramp back. And I think, what we've talked about earlier is as a business model, you have to take care of your clients while they're in your facility, and you have to come up with programming education to take care of your clients when they can't come into your facility. And for us at CORE, that means not only the instructor community, but it means the end user for our club partners as well. So this whole idea about learning how to use a camera and learning how to use Zoom and different formats to create virtual programming, I think if you're not already doing that, and I'd be surprised if you're not, you have to start exploring it now and practicing it now.
Excellent. And Carol?
Yeah, I say that, being versatile, just making sure that you are as versatile as possible with your business, with the service that you're services that you're providing for your clients and members, and hopefully enabling yourself to attract new members at whatever level. And of course, versatility in your programming and your product offering.
Great. Pete?
Well, I think I'm going to back on something that Jamie said that really is important. A lot of it's going to matter on just education of the consumers, education of the members. One of the big things being watch for overtraining, because already, one of the things I think that's been best about some of these stay-at-home orders is a lot of our members were chronically overtrained anyway, and this has been kind of a period of active recovery of where they're actually getting some of their physiology back from being in a state of being overtrained. But the point being that 10 to 15 minutes of HIIT is all that's necessary for optimal adaptations. There's a ton of research for that. More than 20 minutes of high-intensity interval training or any type of high-intensity training actually weakens the immune system. So I think it's going to be having to take that step further and just really educating people on all fronts about not just being clean in the facility, but being smart about the type of exercise they're doing so they don't compromise their immune systems in the first place.
Absolutely. And Jamie, we're gonna end with you.
Hey. Yeah, I would just encourage everyone to educate members to, you know, that we're gonna be as accommodating as possible as we move forward with this. And it's all about education, like everyone else has said. That's what's going to keep everybody safe and healthy. And so we need to, whatever we can do to educate people to work out smarter, you know, stay cleaner, healthier, safer, then that's wonderful. And just, I think we need to up our communication between gyms and members and just make sure that that communication is constant and that they don't ever feel like they're losing contact.
Yeah, and I think it's that contact. I love the idea of the video. I love to keep them posted on what's going on. If you haven't started the online training, don't be frightened of it. I'm just gonna say, you're gonna screw it up, you know? Your first couple times, it's a mess and it's ridiculous. It's like the first time I tried posting on Facebook, my kid leans in my ear as I'm dictating into the phone. I'm using Siri for the first time because I think it's great. Leans over to me, says swear word after swear word. It goes in. I hit send. It's all over. I'm like, oh my gosh. So stay away from your children when you post. That's my motto. I want to thank these wonderful presenters. Thank you, Jeff. I really appreciate you. Thank you also. You guys, you need to know that these people also sponsor your education. That's why Live Stream Mania is $100 off. It's not $259. It's in 2 weekends, May 29th through 31st. It's because of Core Health and Fitness. It's because of BOSU. It's because of MASHUP. We can't run these educational programs without them. MASHUP's doing an amazing certification pre-con. So is Schwinn doing a certification. Pete is one of our favorite presenters who's presenting for us at the conference. We've got several BOSU presentations, and I just want to thank you all for coming. And I want, stay healthy. We're going to get through this. We're going to open up. And I want to encourage all of you, learn how to do online stuff, clean your equipment, get locker rooms, and teach MASHUP. Okay. All right. Take care, everybody. Thank you so much.